So what are you cooking for us, Maxine?
I'm doing macaroni and pie for you today. So it's macaroni with the cheese sauce put in the oven and cooked down until the majority of the sauce has disappeared.
Okay, and where does the dish originate from?
You can find different variations of it all through the Caribbean. This version my nan taught me. She's from Guyana, which is in South America, which is right near the Caribbean. So this is her own take on the dish.
Is it something that you would eat as a child?
Yeah, we wouldn't have it as a meal just on its own. It'd be something that we'd have as a side dish. As I said, there's lots of variations. Even my nan has her own different variations, depending on what we did and didn't have in the house. She'd make her own style for that day.
Okay, so what have we got in the pan?
Okay, so I'm just putting a bit of macaroni. I'm just going to add a little bit more, so I think I've done enough. You just add as much macaroni as you're going to put in your dish, and you've also got to make allowances for how much sauce it's going to take up. So today we're doing a dish about this size, probably do 2 people. So for that, I haven't got that much macaroni, about half of a small packet. And then while you're waiting for your pasta to boil, you just chop your onions, and then I'm putting a Scotch bonnet pepper in today. If we didn't have a Scotch bonnet pepper, sometimes we put a teaspoon of mustard, English mustard. So just now, you just put all the pasta into a Pyrex dish, like this. So you want it to cover about 3/4 of it, because remember, once we put the sauce in and the cheese on top, it's all going to fill right up to the top. So I'm going to leave that there to cool on the side. Get your same pan that you just made the macaroni in, just make sure it's empty of all the macaroni. So first thing to add is get your pan really hot, or your pot in this case. It's going to turn into a sauce. And you want to add in about 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons of butter. So this is going to be the base for the sauce.
Any specific butter, or does it not?
No, any. To be honest, we use whatever you've got in the house will be fine. That's why it's a good dish to make, because most of the stuff, as I said, you'd have in your house already. So just let that keep melting in the pan like that until it's all the way down. Move it around to speed it up a bit. Okay, next thing you need to grab is your flour. That's going to go in next, and the base of the sauce they call it a roux. So we're just going to make it so that it's a nice lump. And at this point you want to get everything on the ready. So have your onions here, have your pepper, and also have your milk at the ready, so that it's quite, it has to go quick, otherwise you've got the problem of splitting your sauce otherwise. So as you can see now, all the butter's melted. Now that's all melted down, we can slowly start to add the flour.
Okay.
Should probably get another tablespoon for this, but you can just add it bit by bit, you can do it by eye. So it's about equal part flour to butter consistency that you want it. And you're going to put your flour to one side, you're done with that now, and get your milk ready. Now this part's important that you stay with it and you literally put the milk in drop by a drop, as much as it's tedious. And then again, you're just adding the milk in bit by bit whilst you're stirring it.
Any milk in particular?
I normally do it with full fat, probably just because that's the milk that we had when we were younger, but I don't think there's any need to use any sort of milk. I've done it with all milks, never had a problem with it. The one thing I wouldn't say is use 2 different types of milk and make sure the milk's really cold. I don't know why, but I've had problems before when I've left the milk out too long that the sauce has split, or it's gone a bit lumpy. I mean, if it does go lumpy, then you can just sieve it through a sieve, which I do a lot of the time, because sometimes it does get a few lumps in. Just turn up the heat a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, it starts to go to this sort of consistency, and then you're just going to keep adding the milk bit by bit until it's turned into a sauce. So with your first bit, just remember whatever butter you put in, equal amount of butter to flour, and then the milk is, you literally have to do it by eye, so you just keep adding it until it gets to a saucy texture. Okay, I think we're nearly there. So I'd say we've used about a pint of milk there. And then let me show you the consistency you're looking for. So you're looking for it really loose. Because as you add the cheese bit by bit and as the sauce cooks down, it's going to thicken up again back to the texture that we saw it at a few minutes ago. So you just want to give it a few stirs while it's like this, and then we can slowly start to add the cheese. At this point, you just want to put your oven on to preheat, because you're going to be putting it in the oven in the next 5 or so minutes. If you get that ready. So again, the cheese, like the milk, bit by bit adding it in, and you're just doing it by eye, and then also this time for taste. I know some people aren't too much fans of cheese, so again, just add it in by look.
What degree did you set the oven at?
It's just on between 150 and 175, but we've also got a fan assisted oven. So I'd say if you don't have a fan assisted oven, you just want it a little bit higher than that. Okay, at this point you just want to add in a bit of salt and pepper, so I'm going to go grab mine. But it's important to make sure you keep seasoning it the whole way through. When I said about if you didn't have a Scotch bonnet pepper and you wanted to add in mustard, you'd add it in at this point now once it's a saucy texture. So
any mustard in particular?
English mustard. So it's got that little kick to it. Okay, so I'd say we've got about enough cheese in now. We're just going to let this cook down for 2 or 3 minutes while stirring it. At this point it will go a little bit lumpy, but don't worry, that's just your cheese before it melts down. This was always my job when I was younger. It's good if you've got little ones to make them really stir. Okay, we're all stirred in now. So at this point you want to add your onions. Now my mum did used to cook down the onions beforehand to make them a little bit sweeter, but I preferred them in raw, so it's got more of a cheese and oniony taste. So I'll probably add in about half of this amount of onions. We've done quite a lot. Go. So you can just see, obviously it's lumpy now, you've got your onions in there, but you've already made your sauce, so you're good at this point. And then your peppers, you just want to add them in, and again, don't touch your eye once you've had these, as I did a few minutes ago. Go. Just keep stirring that. Now I'm going to take this off the heat. And then just get your dish that you had earlier with your macaroni still in, so it should have cooled down by now. It's okay if it's still warm. So yeah, you just want to add this sauce in bit by bit. Oh, I might need to do it this way. So at first just do it to cover it. And once you've done it to cover it like this, you're just going to stir in the sauce bit by bit, just to make sure that it's all covered, and you want to make sure that it gets into all the macaroni at the bottom as well. So as you can see there, we're just stirring it in. There we go. Okay, just going to add a little bit more sauce in now. Might have done a little bit too much.
Do you literally cook the onions for a few seconds?
A few seconds, because remember we're putting this in the oven now for say half an hour. We're going to wait until all the sauce has disappeared. So it's literally just seconds, so it adds a bit of crunch as well. You can also put sweet corn in it. I think my mum and Nan probably did it more for texture as flavour as well. Okay, so as you can see, you want it just so that your macaroni's got a little bit of sauce hanging over the top, but you don't want it drowned, because if it's drowned in, then you know you're not going to see it. So now, as you can see, it's starting to bubble away. So we're there about done. If you want a little bit crispier, you can.